What did you expect to get out of Booker when you went to his place to shoot him?
Well, quite frankly, I didn't expect to get it at all. NBC didn't want me to use black people because we all know the black story, and it's a terrible story.
Now, that's what my customers, I say my customers, be expecting of me. When I come in, this way want me dressed. Booker, tell my people what you got. Some people are nice, some is not. Some call me Booker, some call me John, some call me Jim, some call me nigger. All of that hurts, but you have to smile. If you don't, what's wrong with you? Why are you not smiling? Get over there and get me so-and-so and so-and-so. There are some nice people. Don't talk to Booker like that. Oh, his name is Booker. Then I got some more people come in real nice. How you do, waiter? What's your name? Then I take care of some so good, and I keep that smile. I always learn to smile. The meaner the man be, the more you smile, although you're crying on the inside.
Ever since I saw your grandfather in the film that my father made, I was always curious about who he was and what happened to him.
When I first heard the story of my grandfather speaking to the news crew, I thought it was just that he was walking down the street and someone approached him and asked him a question, and just sort of on the fly that he blurted out what he really felt, maybe without thinking about the consequences, because it was just quick, you know, it was just in the moment. And so I always sort of referred to him as an accidental activist, you know, that he did this thing in his life that had an impact on his community and on himself without really realizing when he did it, that it was significant, that what he was doing had such meaning.
Both black and white in Greenwood, when you ask them about race relations, when I asked them about the civil rights movement, almost without exception, people told me that they remembered Booker being interviewed on the NBC News, and that was the moment that the civil rights movement came home for them. That was the moment of impact for them.
My father still carries guilt over his decision to use it, which is an interesting dilemma that I think everybody who makes a documentary faces. At some point, as the filmmaker, you're eager to use something that's going to be good for your movie, and frequently that collides with, ethically, should I be putting this on screen?
His wife and a waitress were there while we were filming.
Those two women.
I shot them on purpose.
Yeah.
I wanted to show that they were there. They could have stopped me. They didn't want to. People change when they see misery and they see things happen that are terrible. They suddenly looking for someone to blame. And they blamed me, and I deserve it.
He spoke the truth.
He did.
And nobody wanted the truth to get out about what life was like down there.
And
I mean,
some
because it
people,
was
I
nothing
think,
to
were
burn your house
brainwashed.
down or hang you or, you know, that was,
The norm.
yeah.
So it was a
And
dangerous
knowing
time.
all of that, he still told the truth
He
and
did.
didn't hide from it. That tells you about his bravery and what we saw in him as a dad.
I didn't know that Booker had been murdered until I met you months ago. And ever since then, I've been wondering whether his murder had something to do with his having been in my father's film.
Good evening. If I can have your attention, we'll go ahead and get started. My name's Freddie Bain, and I'm a member of the Bridge, and we're proud to have this opportunity to host this. Without anything else, I'll introduce Frank.
Raymond.
Sorry.
Frank's
was
my
your
dad, it's
father.
okay, yeah.
I got a bit confused. I'm sorry, Raymond De Felitta. Sorry for that.
My father would be really happy to hear that, though. So thank you. So,
Thanks, and on behalf of my father, thank you for attending. My father's in Los Angeles. He's 90 years old this summer, and he's astonished that all of this is being looked at again. This was a film that you're about to see that he made in 1966, and he never really knew what impact it had, if any, and he went on to have a long life and career, but a few weeks ago, I put this movie on the internet, and an extraordinary thing happened. All of a sudden, we started hearing from people that this was something that people had been looking for years, and that it had a good deal of impact on history and civil rights history. One of the people who got in touch with us is Booker Wright's granddaughter, Yvette Johnson.
I'd heard about his appearance in your father's film, but I'd never seen it.
And did you ever try to find it?
I did. I contacted NBC Archives, and I found a website on the internet that helps people find archived film footage, and but no, I was unsuccessful in finding anyone who said that they actually had a copy of it. So I started a blog about my Booker Wright research, and while you were working on archiving your father's documentaries, I got home one day and I had lots of messages from people saying, someone saying he has a film with your grandfather in it, and of course I knew what the film had to be.
I grew up watching my father's movies because, in a sense, we were the only audience for them. They aired on NBC 2 or 3 times. They were not ever broadcast again, and my father had the 16mm prints of them. So sometimes we'd thread them up and watch them, and that was really all that existed of their audience, was us. And I was always interested in who he was when he was making those films, because I was a little kid. I was 2, 3, 4 years old, and of course I kind of wanted to know what his life was like then. He lived in an era and made those films in an era where you could actually live a quite luxurious life. We had a big apartment a block from Central Park, and he had an office at NBC at 30 Rock, and he could do this and make documentaries. That was New York, 1965. I remember when you came over and met my father for the first time, and we had brunch together, and then you had a private talk with him, and I decided to leave you two alone.
Yeah.
And I still don't really know what you discussed.
He shared the story with me of why he wanted to make the film in the first place, why he wanted to make Mississippi a self-portrait. And it's an amazing journey that he went on. He was in World War II, where he was a flyer. And at the end of the war, he was asked to fly, historians and people who needed to sort of document what happened in the concentration camps. He flew them. Seeing what one human could do to another human being, it just left a scar on him. And when he went back home, he was sorrowful about what happened to the Jews. It really, it just disturbed him. After he'd had the experience in the concentration camps, and so he traveled through some of the southern states, and he was really struck by the way that blacks were being treated. It sort of reawakened that feeling of how can one human treat another human like this.
One Sunday morning, I picked up the New York Times, and in the magazine section, I read a very stimulating article by Harding Carter. This was just soon after the 3 young civil rights guys were killed in Neshoba County by a rabid group of people.
His paper has spoken out against violence, against the corruption of law enforcement officers, in favor of fair treatment for the Negro.
There's still something else that I believe is spiritually meaningful, and that is the new mood of self-examination that you can find among many Southerners.
I said, I want to go down there and I want to talk to the white people and do a portrait of them to see if they ever can be reconciled with the blacks. I says, I'm going to go down on a tour now, just to spend a couple of weeks there, feeling the place out. I know I've done some research and found that the great town that we want to avoid is the one I want to go to, and that's Greenwood, Mississippi. And they're constantly lynching a black man. Junior said, okay, Godspeed, go ahead. He says, try to come back alive. I said, okay. So we went down, and in 2 weeks, we came up with nothing. Nothing of interest. People weren't talking to us. They'd see us, and I'd try to introduce myself, but it didn't work. Whatever charm I tried to use did not happen. So we came back, and I says, they don't believe us. What I have to do is bring the crew down. Big truck, NBC News. I said, they'll understand that.
When I saw a black man touch the back of a white person's car, I was waiting on it at the store. He had been drinking alcohol because the store did sell illegal whiskey. And he just touched the back of it. He and his family was on their way home. He had 3 children. Man got out and kicked him down to the ground. And his children was hollering, "Don't kill my daddy," and the lady was hollering, "Don't kill my husband." They had their grocery, and the man got out of his car and went in the store, and he asked the man store owner to give him a gun so he could kill that black son of a bitch. And by that time, I saw the children and the mother running, not in the road, across the fields trying to get out of the way. They dropped their groceries, and they was running, trying to get him out of harm's way.
One time, my husband was working with a man, had a brother was kind of retarded, and he worked at the Crystal, and he touched a white lady's foot with a wet mop, and they shot him down in Crystal Grill. He was a Muslim.
How long after the incident was he shot?
Shot the same day.
You know, like blacks stood mostly together. You know, like if you made it home, if the police didn't catch you in the street, you made it home, they wasn't hardly coming up in your house because your parents would stop them at the gate and everything and say, he here and he gonna stay here. You know, because people were scared to let the police take their kid to jail. Now they would tell them, I'll bring him up there, or we'll bring him in, but we ain't gonna let him get in the car with y'all, you know, because black was scared to let their kid just get in the car with white police.
This is the Tallahatchie. Emmett Till, a 15-year-old Negro boy visiting from Chicago, whistled at a white woman. His body was found in the Tallahatchie, trussed with wire and weighted down with a pulley from a cotton gin. Cotton and Negroes, white fiber and black labor, both have enriched the state and left a curse upon it.
Well, the story begins when Booker's about 2, maybe 3 years old, and he's living with his mother, and she works in the home of a white family, the Russells.
And the Russells were moving up north. They told my mother, you need to find a family member to leave Booker with because, you know, we'll have all this work to do, and you come back and get him in a couple of months.
Sharecropping is kind of like a fuel system. It's supposed to be half and half, but all the expense plus interest came out of our 20 bells. All of the seeding and all of that, the harvest of crop, plus interest. So we ended up clearing a little money, but the person who owned the plantation had his 20 bales without any expense.
Y'all work the whole year round. And at the end of the year, when they call settling, you almost come out. Almost. If you'd have made 4 more bales, you'd have broke even. See? So you owe me. And if you were a good worker, you want to keep, you say, well, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do at Christmas. I'm gonna let you have $75 to do your Christmas. And that's gonna make you owe me that plus what you owe me now. If you was not a good worker, he'd say, well, I want you to move. See if you can find somebody to take you and pay me your bill. You know, and then you go off and try to find another farmer who would hire you and pay your bill off and move you to him. That's the way it was. Yes.
His mother took a train to the city where the plantation was, and she was met at the train station by a guy who worked for the plantation owner. And he said to her, if you want Booker back, you're gonna have to pay for him.
She needed money, they said. And she went back, and the Russells gave her the money. And she made another trip, and she still was not able to bring Booker with her.
I was weeding in the field. I went to the field when I was still nursing. Everything went to the field. Even the dogs went to the field.
Farming in those days was just like, it wasn't no 8 to 5. It was from when you could see until you could not see. You know, that's what a day's work was.
I had to tote water from about a mile away, at least twice a day. Then it was, we had a pump the other way, but the pump used to bring up hair and teeth from the graveyard. So my mom never wanted me to go that way. So I had to walk the furthest to the mile and a half to get the water.
The man who lives in that house comes to Rosie, comes to Booker's mom, and says to her, the plantation owner is coming to whip you. You're never gonna get your son back. They want him for the fields.
I was friends of all the blacks that lived on our place. He had nothing but respect for them and their hard work.
Most of the people with whom I lived and whom I knew were African Americans. They were tenants on my father's farm. Most of my playmates when I grew up were young black fellas.
I can totally identify with that. I have a black mother just like I have a white mother, and she was always determined she was going to the cotton fields to compete with her sisters when it came cotton picking time, and she took me with her. Some of my fondest memories are being there in the cotton field with her and her sisters and singing gospel songs and her making me take a nap on the back of her cotton sack.
We didn't have a good living place then. You know, you could stand up in here and look down through the outside.
Did you have a toilet in your home?
Mm-mm. Yeah, go outside.
Did you have electricity?
We had wood to make fires.
Talk about the hostility I had after hearing this gentleman talk about black women who neglected me to raise him. That's an awful, awful experience, especially if you're a little black boy running around the streets of Greenwood.
I just want to say I'm really sorry that it offended you that I was talking about my black mother, but that's just the way it was, and that's the way it is. I would in no way take anything for that relationship from my perspective. I understand what you were saying, And I would in no way wish that I never had that relationship, because I love her just like my own mother. I was there when she passed away. She specifically requested to ask that my brothers and my sister and I be put on the services that day as her children.
Every Mississippian talked about how much they loved their blacks. That was the first thing they'd say. They've raised me. Black people raised me. I had a white mother, but I had a black mother too. She raised me. They were always trying to put that across, how they treated them like family, beloved people. But then they didn't act that way to them. Mr. LaLouie came to us at breakfast, a little gnarled old man. He said, "You're telling lies. You're coming here to tell lies. I could tell you the truth, but you wouldn't listen to me. You wouldn't want me, would you? You don't want the truth. You're here from NBC. They're liars." I says, "No, I want the truth. Will you tell it to me?" "You mean that?" I said, "Right." He says, "Well, okay. Come to my plantation tomorrow, and I'll show you what I mean about our loving our Negroes."
And he's a taxpayer. He pays income tax. Most of these men want to look through your house.
Come right in.
And Mose Stewart.
Yes, sir. Come right in.
Which one room? You want to go in this room first?
You can just go right in here.
Open the door. Open the door. Open the door.
Just come right in.
Come right on in. Like you all see inside.
Shut up. Shut up.
Yeah. Big it up. Come on in. I want to show you through the house. This is Mo's mother right here. She doesn't pick any cotton anymore. She's getting too old. We're going back through here. And Mo's fixed up with knives. We're going to fix him up a little more, though. He's a good worker. Yes. This is another one of his bedroom and utility kind of oatmeal stuff you have put away for when that you put away through the winter time. He put this in the winter, but wife cooked some pies yesterday and he put those in there.
My mother cooked them, and wife, she's gone.
Wife is gone, was she?
Yes.
Talk loud enough.
Yes, sir.
We trying to show these people how you can live if you work for it.
Yes.
And I think you work for yours.
Yes, sir. I do.
And we want to keep the locker full. We're going to put a bathroom in here.
Yes.
And we're going to put them in all the houses that are like this.
Yes.
But we're putting them in, every deserving tenant,
yes.
We're going to do that.
Yes.
But we can't do it to some, because if they come up to lick log like you and these others I mentioned, then we can always fix them up. We've never denied you anything, have we?
Yeah, no, that's right.
When do you ever ask me anything?
You never have denied me, because I always would try to
you work to that
there.
advantage, yeah. And I have plenty more in the place that I don't deny, but there are some that I just can't go too far with because they're not deserving, in other words.
Yes.
And I just want to show you the house right here, the difference. I want to show you the contrast in the good tenant and the one that doesn't stay at home and take care of his family. Luella? Yes. Come out here. I want to show them inside your house. And how are you this morning? All right. One of them to show them the difference in the house over here and your house, and I just like for them to hear you say just why you don't have the chickens and hogs and cows and the yard and the butane gas and things like that the others have. Now you just tell them your own word.
Well, reading that thing, it don't, be in good shape like the rest of them. My
Talk
husband
loud.
just don't stay at home to help. And I stay here, do the very best that I can. I have a desire to have hogs, chickens, and gas, put out.
Well, you have
convenient to my home, but I just don't have, my husband just don't have, he don't have the mind to help me.
You've been on the mill, I'd say, close to 30 years.
Yes, sir.
But I knew your dad,
yes.
And been trying to, have I ever tried to help you?
Yes, you really try to help you. Believe in folks trying to have something, if you will.
You can tell them about whether I instruct you right or not, can't you? Can you tell them about how well what I do about trying to get your men folks to help you?
Yes, sir. Sure, we try
I'll
to do
try.
all you do.
But I think we're going to have to bow down a little harder.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Your men folks to help you.
Yes, sir.
Look at me. I'll try. But I think we're going to have to bow down a little harder.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Who is that?
Bill.
That's it. I didn't realize it. I got in the
You know, we're on
car,
TV.
and I was coming home, and I said, that was all over
You
that
didn't
picture.
think about it.
Yeah, I said, that was all over that picture.
Do you remember the white guy?
Yeah.
Remember? Do you know what his name was?
The one doing the talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the rider, Lewis. We call old man Lewis.
Yeah.
All I know was Lewis.
Okay.
Lewis. He was ready. He was tough.
Yeah. Because that's
A redneck? That's what they're going to say. He was a redneck.
Yeah.
You can tell by the way
Joe
he
was
talk.
a redneck. He showed his voice. He was tall. He was a bad man.
You can tell when you talk about redneck.
I remember back then when they did it, but I didn't know I lost contact of it. But I remember when they came out and filmed us. I forgot about the Leroy. I mentioned it last night. Then it dawned on me. I said, "Yay! I remember that."
As you see in the picture, that I have quite a few people who are very fine and understanding people. They still have their druthers about the black people. I had to get permission from Julian Goodman, who was our leader. He says, well, you know, there were a lot of rednecks there. I wouldn't want that. I said, no, neither would I. He says, well, if you mean to go talk to serious, well-disposed white people who are willing to talk to you, good, go. Fred Ramsey, my associate down there, came to me and said, I got a guy. I know you don't want to do black people, but if you'll listen to him, go to Dozy place. Well, no, it was another one. Lusco's, yes. When we go there tonight, have a steak, most gorgeous steaks in the world. They're really fabulous. And ask him, say, please, I've heard so much about your wonderful greeting to white people, and I'm a white person, I'd like to be greeted by you. I did. And he started this thing that has had me absolutely rolling.
Glad to see y'all. We don't have a written menu. I'll be glad to tell you what we're going to serve tonight. Everything we serve is a la carte. We have fresh shrimp cocktail, Lusco shrimp, fresh oyster on a half shell, baked oyster Rockefeller, oyster Almadine, stewed oyster.
Booker moved up to Greenwood, and he started working at Lusco's when he was 14 in 1940.
It's like being in a bookstore that hand sells you a book. Waiters like Booker hand sold you that T-bone, hand sold you that pompano.
Oyster Rockefeller, oyster Almadine, stewed oyster, fried oyster, Spanish mackerel, What's Solon steak, club steak, T-bone steak, porterhouse steak, ribeye steak.
You went into this place that from the outside did not look like it was going to be anything special. And you walked in and there were the booths where, and of course this came from Prohibition time when you weren't allowed to drink, so therefore you drank in the booths behind the curtains that were pulled.
Daddy used to go to Lusco's, and they used to make wine in the back there. It was a homemade wine. They call it Dago Red.
They worked here and they made a very good living. And there's not another job out there probably that they could have worked and made that kind of money.
Yeah, they could be cotton or they could be waiters.
Right, and they made good money.
What's Solon steak, club steak, T-bone steak, porterhouse steak, ribeye steak, Lusco special steak, broiled mushroom, flavor of garlic, Thai spaghetti meatballs, salt shell crab.
The waiters were there reciting the menu. Nothing was written down. If you had a friend from out of town that came and they said, where's the menu? What do you mean there's no menu? How do I know what things cost? Well, you find that out when you go to the cash register.
Lusco's didn't have menus. You could go in there, and if you were black, conceptually, what they could do was say, that cup of coffee you just had, that was $20. So that was the implicit threat.
When he recited the menu, he had a melody.
Yes.
He did it in a melodious manner.
Right.
And I think everybody loved to hear him recite the menu.
that was part of his charm.
Lusco special steak, broiled mushroom, flavored garlic, tank spaghetti meatballs, soft shell crab, French fried onion, golden brown donut style. Best food in the world is served at Lusco.
I get the impression that he just always wanted to be his own man, and that he sort of, enjoyed his work at Lusco's and endured some of the things that he talked about in your father's film so that he could open his own place. I think that he always knew that he wanted to own his own business.
Well, he's pretty smart though, but I didn't give him no thought that he'd be having his own business. But he's a real smart guy. Had good business.
He kind of functioned between the two societies. On the one hand, he was highly respected in the black community, and yet he worked in a menial capacity in the white community.
This is Booker Wright. He has his own place in the Negro district where he works by day. But at night, he waits on white folks.
So he opened up his own place called Booker Place, and it was a very powerful place that B.B. King would go if he was playing here in Greenwood at the Elks Hall. After it was over, he'd go to Booker's place, and they'd eat chitlins and stuff until 4 o'clock the next morning.
Welcome to Booker's. I don't care how many people walk through that door. Welcome to Booker's.
Welcome to
Booker's
smile.
He did. He knew all the customers. He knew all their families, their children.
Because we would always laugh and say, well, maybe Daddy can't read, but he sure can't count money. Yeah, maybe he sure can't count that money. We go, yeah.
The distance between Lusco's and Booker's Place is about 8 blocks. There's a train track between the two. And that is a very simplistic way of defining Greenwood, but it works.
Everybody knew him, and whenever you walked in, you felt at home.
They were like the place to be. All kind of sandwiches, fish, mostly fish sandwich and hamburgers and steak sandwiches. Yeah. Drank a little beer, played music, danced with the girls, sometimes even danced with us.
Yeah. He would sit down with them and talk with them, laugh with them, dance with them.
We had to go down to Washington, Fred and I, and talk to them and tell them what we wanted to do. And we spoke to Deke DeLoche, who was the right hand of Hoover. And he said, well, you gotta be crazy if you think you're gonna go there and get what you want. He says, do you understand that we've had 64 Negro churches burned down there in this past summer? 64. He says, and they're still raging. I said, I want your help. I want to be able to count on you in case we get into some serious trouble. And by that I mean, unless we find our lives are in danger. He says, well, in every city in Mississippi, and even small towns, we have a person who represents the FBI. He's hidden. No one knows he is. We keep our information extremely covert. We're not going to let you know who they are. But what we can do is give you some phone numbers. If you lose them or get them out, or they get them, they'll kill those people. He said, we can't have that.
And how can you look in these stripes of red and this flag knowing very well that your forefathers, yes, yours, not mine, yours, all of them, that stripe represents that blood that they spilled on this soil, American soil, something that you have never had to do to give you this God-given right of racial purity and a heritage.
Did you ever have to use the phone numbers that the FBI gave you?
Yes, once. We used the number in Natchez at the ballpark where there's a huge crowd, and the wizard, the top man of the Ku Klux Klan, was talking. We were shooting him, filming him, I should say. Typical Ku Klux Klan rant on how they're being put upon by white America for feeling the way they do. As he talked, people in the stand kept throwing things at us. They were throwing soft things. But then a couple of hard things came across, and it knocked into one of the cameras. And Vidal said, "Hey, listen," he said, I'm getting this stuff hit me, one hit me. He said, "I'm getting out of here." I said, "Don't." I said, we'll take care of it. And Fred had a field phone, and we called the number. And the woman, I called her, I said, "Is your husband an FBI man?" She says, "Yes." She says, "I knew you'd call. Look," she says, "you handle it the best you can. He's in the audience. He's there, and he's protecting you, and he's stopping them from doing these things. He's doing it in a way that won't injure anybody. He's making fun of them. They don't know him, though. If they did, they'd kill him. So please, don't call us again." I said, "Okay."
I was a member of the Citizens Council. I thought it was rather ironic, by the way, that DeLay Beckwith, who was convicted of murdering Medgar Evers, signed me up for the Citizens Council in Goldberg Shoe Store, which is a Jewish-owned shoe store.
This is Carnaggio's restaurant. Gathered here are 5 men, representative leaders who speak for Greenwood. They voice the Orthodox liturgy. Hardy Lott, the attorney who defended DeLay Beckwith.
Stories about the South and keeping up
Mayor Charles Sampson. Noel Davis, Stanley Sanders, Robert Wingate.
That people in other sections of the country are thoroughly convinced that we are prejudiced against colored people on account of the color of their skin.
I think you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, there's a very warm feeling on the part of most Southerners toward the color.
This is a private club. Greenwood avoided integrating its public accommodations by converting public eating places into private clubs for whites only. No Negroes enter here except as servants.
Let me say, first of all, that I was never a member of the Citizens Council. But I attended one of the first meetings, in fact, perhaps the main organizational meeting of the Citizens Council in the City Hall in Greenwood. In the summer of 1954, a few weeks after the Brown decision in May of 1954. That decision immediately set off a wave of hysteria among many white people in Mississippi. And so there began an effort to thwart that decision in every possible way. Among those plans was the organization of a group of white people not ordinarily given to violence, but committed to maintaining racial segregation in every possible way short of violence.
But what they would come back with always and say, if that's true, and you're not prejudiced against them, why do you want to keep your separate school? Isn't that prejudice? Of course it's not. The average colored child is not going to keep up with the average white child in an integrated school. And it's going to give them an feeling of inferiority, and it's not going to be good for them at all.
I got out of that after a while because it was a little more right-wing than I'm pretty conservative. I'm just a little bit to the right of Genghis Khan, but really it was a little more virulent than I wasn't proud of it, and I got out.
In Greenwood, I think we have wonderful relations with the colored people. It has been demonstrated through the years in all the businesses, type of businesses. The colored people are very happy, extremely happy in Mississippi.
And I think they feel just as warmly toward us.
That's a fact. Do you know anybody that disagrees with that?
Might as well put it plain and clear. Every last one of them was at that table was a member of the Klan. Every last one of them.
Wow. How did you know that they were members of the Klan?
Please, don't ask me that. How did I know? I mean, I lived in this town all my life. I know white folks. The White Citizen Council wasn't nothing but a front for the Klansmen in Greenwood, and every last one of them was a member.
But I'm gonna tell you this one thing I've learned about the nigger. When you think he is, he ain't. These niggers, they're not bad folks. They're good folks. That is, provided you treat a Negro like a nigger.
These were guys who were fervent racists. They were snout-in pigs, and they didn't mind being seen snuffling around saying it. They only cared about one audience, and they were talking constantly from, to, and for that audience. And that was the conforming white segregationists. It was for the monolith that had been fashioned in that state from Reconstruction on. It was for a point of view which was, you do what you want to do where you are. We're running this place the way we want to here, and you'll pay hell getting us to change. Because as far as they were concerned, they were saying God's truth. And it's the way it ought to be. If you guys don't understand it, take your Yankee ass and go somewhere else, back to a place where you love it. We're going to run this place this way.
My grandmother was so afraid for us that she would say, if you're walking downtown and you meet a white person, you hold your head down, don't look at them. You hold your head down. But then Dad would always say, hold your head up. Be proud of who you are. Hold your head up. You look them straight in the eye. I said, well, if we speak, they won't speak. He said, it doesn't matter. He said, you look them straight in the eye, and you can say good morning, and you can say good evening, and it doesn't matter if they don't speak, but you hold your head up.
People who came from different parts of Mississippi who were traveling through Greenwood would stop at Booker's place. It was well known for being clean and having really good food. So Booker would often ask these people if they knew anything about his mother. He would tell them what he knew of his story, that he was left on a doorstep, and just ask them if they knew anything about her.
Now, he could never really, at first, grasp that, because he would just say, I was given away, and that's why I'm gonna always see after you all. Nobody's, I'm not giving you to anybody, nobody's gonna take you, you're mine, you're mine. That's what he would tell us.
He hired this man who had knowledge of finding people, knew how to find people.
I can recall when he got the call that they had found her. I remember tears streaming down his face when he was on the phone.
When he finally gets to speak to her on the phone, he says to her, I thought you threw me away. I thought you didn't want me. And she finally, after all these years, gets to explain to him that she did want him, and that she wanted him desperately, and that she tried all of these different ways to get him back, but that she just wasn't able to. That the plantation owner was never gonna let her have him back.
She had a whole different life, and she had other children, and they all came down, and as I said, he bought us white dresses And had our hair done. And had our hair done. He wanted us to be just perfect to meet our grandmother for the first time.
Many, many people in my family have told me that he talked about being abandoned. It was a central theme of his life until he found her.
To me, that's really interesting because he learns about how essentially the people stole him and deprived him of his natural mother. And he learns about it 3 years before he goes on TV and upends his whole life.
Well, I want Jesus, just walk with me. Yes, I want Jesus, walk with me. Oh, while I'm on this chilly journey. Yes, I want Jesus, just walk with me. Walk with my mother, Lord, walk with me. Walk with my mother, Lord, walk with me. Oh, while I'm on this chilly journey. Yes, I want Jesus, come and walk with me. Don't leave me alone, Lord. Don't leave me alone. Don't leave me alone, Lord. Don't leave me alone. Oh, while I'm on this chilly journey. Yes, I want Jesus just to walk with me.
I told Fred, I want that guy, I want to do him. I spoke to him about that. He says, well, I have a bar. I could do it in my place. I don't know how I'd use the menu. It's far apart from what we wanted to do. But anyway, I said yes. So we went to his place the next day, and he put on his white apron, and he gave us a show that just rocked me.
Glad to see y'all. We don't have a written menu. I'll be glad to tell you what we're going to serve tonight. Everything we serve is a la carte. We have fresh shrimp cocktail, Lusco shrimp, fresh oyster on a half shell, baked oyster, oyster Rockefeller, oyster Almadine, stewed oyster, fried oyster, Spanish mackerel broil, What's Solon steak, club steak, T-bone steak, porterhouse steak, ribeye steak, Lusco special steak, broiled mushroom, flavor of garlic, Italian spaghetti meatballs, soft shell crab, French fried onion, golden brown donut style. Best food in the world is served at Lusco.
But then something happened that was so unusual and so fantastic. He went on.
And you didn't know he was going to...
No, I never thought that he would do that, and yet I couldn't stop it. I didn't want to.
Now, that's what my customers, I say my customers, be expecting of me. When I come in, this way want me dressed. Booker, tell my people what you got. Some people are nice, some is not. Some call me Booker, some call me John, some call me Jim, some call me nigger. All of that hurts, but you have to smile. If you don't, what's wrong with you? Why are you not smiling? Get over there and get me so-and-so and so-and-so. There are some nice people. Don't talk to Booker like that. Oh, his name is Booker. Then I got some more people come in real nice. How you do, waiter? What's your name? Then I take care of some so good, and I keep that smile. I always learn to smile. The meaner the man be, the more you smile. Although you're crying on the inside. Or you wondering, what else can I do? Sometimes you tip you. Sometimes you say, I'm not going to tip that nigga. You don't look for no tip. Yes, sir. Thank you. What did you say? Come back. Be glad to take care of you. Don't talk to him like that. That's a good nigga. That's my nigga. Oh, yes, sir, boss. I'm your nigga. I'm trying to make a living. Why? I got 3 children. I want them to get an education. I wasn't fortunate enough to get an education, but I want them to get it. And they are doing good. Night after night, I lay down and I dream about what I had to go through with. I don't want my children to have to go through with that. I want them to be able to get the job that they be qualified for. That's what I'm struggling for. I don't want this and I don't want that, but I just don't want my children to have to go through what I go through with. Hey, tell that nigga to hurry up with that coffee. I'm on my way. So that's what you have to go through with. But remember, you have to keep that smile.
Then I had a talk with Booker. And I said, are you sure you want to do this? I said, do you know what's going to happen? First of all, this picture's going to play all over the South, Mississippi included. And then people are going to watch it. And they're going to watch you, in a sense, ridicule them as being fools, not knowing how you hurt inside. And he says, I understand it, I thank you. He says, but no. He says, the time has come. Don't you understand? The time has come. I got to talk the way I feel. I've been hurting all my life. And I'm going to finally have something to say to a lot of people. And I want that.
I got to see the film for myself, and I realized that he was not an accidental activist. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was going to say. He knew who he was going to implicate, and he knew the gravity of what he was doing. It was bold, and it was brave, and it wasn't an accident.
Glad to see y'all. We don't have a written menu. I'll be glad to tell you what we're going to serve tonight. Everything we serve is a la carte. We have fresh shrimp cocktail, Lusco shrimp, fresh oyster on a half shell, baked oyster, oyster Rockefeller, oyster Almadine, stewed oyster, fried oyster, Spanish mackerel broil, Watson Solon steak, club steak, T-bone steak, porterhouse steak, ribeye steak, Lusco special steak, broiled mushroom, flavor of garlic, Italian spaghetti meatballs, soft shell crab, French fried onion, golden brown donut style. Best food in the world is served at Lusco. Now, that's what my customers, I say my customers, be expecting of me. When I come in, this way want me dressed. Booker, tell my people what you got. Some people are nice, some are not. Some call me Booker, some call me John, some call me Jim, some call me nigga. All of that hurts, but you have to smile. If you don't, what's wrong with you? Why are you not smiling? Get over there and get me so-and-so and so-and-so. There are some nice people. Don't talk to Booker like that. Oh, his name is Booker. Then I got some more people come in real nice. How you do, waiter? What's your name? Then I take care of some so good, and I keep that smile. I always learn to smile. The meaner the man be, the more you smile. Although you're crying on the inside. Are you wondering what else can I do? Sometimes you tip you, sometimes you say, I'm not gonna tip that nigga, you don't look for no tip. Yes, sir, thank you. What did you say? Come back, because I take care of you. Don't talk to him like that. That's a good nigga. That's my nigga. Oh, yes, sir, boss. I'm your nigga. I'm trying to make a living. Why? I got 3 children. I want them to get an education. I wasn't fortunate enough to get an education, but I want them to get it. And they are doing good. Night after night, I lay down and I dream about what I had to go through with. I don't want my children to have to go through with that. I want them to be able to get the job that they be qualified for. That's what I'm struggling for. I don't want this and I don't want that, but I just don't want my children to have to go through what I go through with. Hey, tell that nigga to hurry up with that coffee. I'm on my way. So that's what you have to go through with. But remember, you have to keep that smile.
When I saw it, I thought to myself, you're a dead man. You're a dead man. If that comes out publicly in that town, in this time, they are going to kill you. And then I thought, he knows that. He's not a fool. He understands exactly what he's saying.
Now, after he said what he said on NBC News, then all of his years and years of relationship with the white community went to naught.
By way of appearing on NBC, Booker lost his job. and he lost his job from pressure from the white community.
Some people didn't want him serving them anymore, so they would request other waiters.
Doesn't matter if someone told him, "Get out of here, boy," or Booker said, "I know I have to leave." Doesn't matter. Pressure from the white community caused him to lose his job.
The people that were here the night that that show was aired, from what I understand, were very upset, and they refused to let Booker wait on them. And Booker, out of respect, walked over to Marie and said, "Miss Marie, I think it's time for me to leave." And she said, I think so, Booker."
They destroyed his store. They came and practically bombed it. They set it aflame. And they put him in the hospital. And he was there seriously injured. And I said I wanted to go see him. And he said, "Tell him, stay away from me. I don't want to see him."
One of the policemen met Booker or overtook him somewhere on Carrollton Avenue and just beat the hell out of him with a pistol. And I believe put Booker in the hospital. Nothing was ever done of that.
It was well known in Greenwood that police officers, carried the day.
No, he did not try to press charges, because if he had come to me, I would have charged Curtis. No, I don't believe we did. I don't believe we ever had a conversation about it. Sure don't.
Curtis was the policeman?
Yeah.
So you even knew everyone knew who did it?
Yeah, yeah. Of course, he knew Curtis. He knew who had attacked him and gave him the beating.
No one really pretended that justice was meted out on an absolutely equal basis between whites and blacks. There weren't really two separate forms of justice in Mississippi.
The communists are using the beatniks, the homosexuals, the harlots, the whores, the whoremongers, the dope addicts, the drunkards, and the misfits in life as tools through which to stir up trouble among peaceful, God-fearing people of the South.
I think Mississippi has done wonders with our race relations. I think it has been a marvelous thing that our Negroes have come as far as they have, and I feel no sense of guilt, and I do not feel that we need to apologize for what we have done for them.
Mary Kane was a formidable battle axe of a right-wing crazy. Ran a weekly newspaper down in outside of Macomb, Mississippi. She ran a terrible newspaper. She gave a fiery speech, and she traveled widely being a spokesman for the segregationist right-wing agenda.
Now, I feel that God had a purpose in creating the races separately. I am so proud of Negroes who are proud of being Negroes. They are what God made them. And I'm proud of being white because I am what my white race has made me. I'm white today because my parents practiced segregation. And I wouldn't be anything but white. And I love Negroes who wouldn't be anything but Negro.
And in the Bible it tells us that God will put hooks in the jaws of the enemy and turn them back. Now, we do not know what course or who God will use to do this. But it may be that God will use Clint people that believe in calling a spade a spade. And if our people believe that God was some little old sissy walking around on this earth, I disagree with them.
David gave his last statement to his son where he said, "Be strong, my son, and show thyself a man." And the amazing thing is that David never told Solomon how to run the kingdom. He never gave him a blueprint of who to appoint for various positions, but he told Solomon something how to handle himself. And if Solomon would be strong and be a man, he believed the kingdom would be in good hands.
%, probably, of white people in Mississippi were segregationists. My family was, my father was, I was, everybody was. Everybody that I knew was for the maintenance of segregation. I think we really believed that most black people really wanted to maintain segregation.
It's difficult for me to believe that the American people, being that we know, but we're part of them, being fair-minded people, would want to impose upon any area of this nation a situation in which illiterates would be allowed to vote.
Well, we found out that we were wrong, and we found out that we were attempting to defend the indefensible.
This land is composed of two different cultures, a white culture and a colored culture, and I've lived close to them all my life. But I'm told now that we've mistreated them and that we must change, and these changes are coming faster than I expected. A new way of thinking, and it's difficult. It's difficult for me, it's difficult for all Southerners.
I think that being in the film gave him a sense that he could do something about his ideas, that he could do more, that he could reach more people.
He started during the Head Start bus because he left Lusco's, right?
Mm-hmm. My grandfather purchased a bus and started working for Head Start and would drive to these sort of outlying communities and pick up children and take them to school.
Dad was one of the first to think of the idea that the children had to be picked up to go to school. And when he said, "I'm going to get a bus," I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, a little cargo van or something, you know, something, or a station wagon or something.
Yeah.
He drove up with that big bus, and I don't think he had a CDL license.
And we were riding on it for the first time, just the bumping and riding.
How in the world does Daddy know how to drive a bus?
He didn't.
But, I mean, he could do anything he wanted to do.
He was real about education. He really was sincere about you doing the best for yourself and getting the best, you know.
He would pick them up in the mornings and drop them off in the afternoons. And he loved it.
Did you know that Booker Wright was murdered?
Yeah.
One of Booker's half-sisters heard a story with me I found it disturbing. Marguerite would often come down to Greenwood to visit Booker. She lived in Chicago at the time, and she would work in the cafe. And after Booker left Lusco's, a white police officer came in and walked through the restaurant, back to the kitchen, into the kitchen, and there was food cooking on the stove with some sort of ham hock.
He didn't order anything, or he didn't say, can you give me taste of something? Somebody could have served it up on a bowl. He went into the pot with his hand.
Just stood there and ate it, making kind of a mess as, juices dripped on the floor. And when he was finished, he turned around and he left and never said a word.
But my brother still looked like a big man when he walked out of that kitchen. And that man went out that door, and he went to that kitchen and threw that pot of greens in the trash. He was still a man.
That officer was trying to send a message to my grandfather and to his family. And I think maybe the message was, you're still under my thumb.
Police had no respect for us. They were there as part of the enemy. They were the enemy. They were not just Boy Scout leaders, and they were not just a nice officer down the street to the average black person.
If they wanted you, they just come and got you. Come and got you.
His paper has spoken out against violence, against the corruption of law enforcement officers, in favor of fair treatment for the Negro.
I saw this figure of this man's hand point just like that. And before I could do anything else, the shot went off.
Wow. Where were you hit?
Right there.
Wow. Do you have any idea who shot you?
Sure.
Logan was one in the 60s that was rough on African Americans.
Silas McGee says that that's the person who shot him, Roy Logan.
It could have very well been, Underwood, so it was tense.
I go to my grave saying it was Roy Logan.
At that time, Logan came up and said, "What you niggas want?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "We're lawyers." He said, "I don't care what you're a lawyer, but you're a nigger lawyer. You're a nigger." Just like that. Hey man, you don't have no right to call me no nigger. He said, "You niggas get out of here." I think Johnny being kind, so I said, "No, we ain't no niggas and we ain't got to get out of here. This is a public place and we want to see our client." Then at that time, Shaw gets up, unstraps his gun and walks around and said, "You niggas getting out of here." And Johnny was not no finger in my back, there was a pistol.
Okay.
And he kept on pushing and jugging me, and I turned around, I had to die today. I said, "No, look, you're not gonna degrade me like that. I'm not no nigga, and don't do me like that and don't treat me like that."
I got a chance to see Curtis Underwood. I got a chance to see Big Smitty, but to my understanding, he was the top. He could come up in 400 blacks and said, "When I turn around, all 400, you better be gone." They said that's why Chicago got so many blacks in it, because when they said Big Smitty was looking for you, if they told you at 9 o'clock that morning Big Smitty was looking for you, you would be on a bus that evening getting away from here.
Dr. Curtis Underwood was low down. He was low down.
How so?
I mean, just nasty, I mean, he didn't care anything for black people at all. And if he had a problem with Curtis Underwood, he had an enemy, that's all I can say.
He said, "It's something I want you to know." And I said, "What is it?" He said, "If anything ever happens to me, I want you to know one thing." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Your daddy lived a good life. I've had a good life. So if anything ever happens to me, I want you to remember when you have a feeling that something's gonna happen to you, you might say something like that. Sure. But, you know, who would want to do anything to him? You know, he helped people. People would come to him. He helped people pay, you know, bills like their phone bill or something like that. He was just, I couldn't imagine anybody wanting to hurt my dad.
One Saturday night, my grandfather was working in his restaurant, Booker's Place, and Lloyd Cork, Blackie, a young black kid from Greenwood, came in and was bothering some people who were trying to eat there. And he and my grandfather argued about this, and my grandfather, who always carried a gun with him in the restaurant, hit Blackie in the head with the butt of his gun and then kicked him out. And about 15 minutes later, Blackie came back with a sawed-off shotgun, and he shot my grandfather.
I recall passing by him with the shotgun on the way to kill your grandfather. And I was in the club that night. Too young to be there, but I was there.
I don't know what time of day it was. I don't remember that. And I don't remember who I got the call from, saying that your dad has been shot.
The altercation had come between the two of them. I don't know if it was a cover charge at the door, and your grandfather said he couldn't come in because he didn't have the money. Something happened, I don't know.
Why do you think Booker carried a gun on him when he worked at his restaurant?
Who was he gonna call if he had a problem? I mean, it's clear that blacks in Greenwood feared the all-white police force.
Tommy Gibson was serving whiskey. Blackie come to the place, tapped on the window with his shotgun, and Tommy Gibson moved out of the way. And Booker Wright saw him and come around the counter. And when he made it to the stream door, that's when he met around and doubled off buckshots.
Booker chased him. He ran out of it and chased him down the street with that gaping hole in his stomach, you know. So he collapsed on the sidewalk, and picked him up in the ambulance and took him to the hospital.
He had shot through the door. So the pellets were all, you know, over, you know, you could see the little. And so I remember I leaned over and I kissed him. And I said, Daddy, he said, I'm all right. I said, do you know you've been shot? My idea of it was, you know, he'll probably pull through. Well, my daddy can pull through anything. So he'll pull through this. He's told me he's gonna pull through. So I know he's gonna get through this. So I remember I was coming down the hall and the doctor asked for the family. And he said, he's gone. And it was like, you know, I stood there like, well, he can't be because he got shot, but he's fine. And he promised me that he was gonna be okay.
It doesn't matter, you know, that he had a family, didn't matter that he was loved, didn't matter, care what, blacks did not have value at all. And I'm talking about miserable, I'm talking about Mr. Wright's value. His life had no value whatsoever, he was just another black man.
You know, the trial was like, it was like a blur. What I do remember that stood out to me more than anything was the fact that Blackie seemed so self-assured. He had so much confidence. It was like, I haven't done anything, so I don't know why I'm here. You know, I'm thinking, you murdered my dad. How can you sit there and be so, he was just, I'm important. You know, I'm somebody. because I'm gonna be done with this. Nothing is gonna happen to me. And I remember that, and I remember thinking, why does he think he's gonna get away with this?
His demeanor indicates to me that he has some expectation that it would be better if he had gone to trial. Because in a typical case like that, somebody would have offered him a deal to plead to manslaughter, and he would have been given 20 years at the most.
I kept reading and rereading the Lloyd Cork murder trial transcripts, and the more that I read it, the more questions I had. There weren't any witnesses called in his defense, and there really wasn't a defense presented. There really wasn't an argument for why he committed that crime. Whether it was self-defense because Booker did hit him with the gun, we know that. Cork wasn't Mirandized, which was not something that was a central argument of his case. I was really left with a question. Did someone encourage Lloyd Cork to murder my grandfather?
If Mr. Wright was the kind of man who got fed up and spoke out, then he was singled out as a person they had to get rid of. And that was not unusual. I've known several people have met death in a strange situation because they spoke out.
What ultimately happened to him, I've always told her that I thought those two incidents were linked, because we know that white America in Greenwood does not forget.
Were you there the morning Lloyd was arrested?
Yeah, because he come to the house.
Did it seem like those officers knew him already?
Oh, yeah. One of them know him, I know, but I just can't think of his name. I don't know where he still live or what.
It's not unusual for one black to be used to kill another black. I mean, with a few dollars, with whiskey.
You know him good. Cause he's all the time, cause he drank a lot.
Just working and loyalty to your boss man, some of them would do it.
And he knowed him good, but I think he did do that.
If you think about the things that Booker did here in Greenwood, and what he stood for here in Greenwood at that particular time, you might say, yeah, I don't think this dude would have been so and so.
For whatever reason, he had the expectation that he was going to be all right. Because if you shot a man through a door and there were witnesses to prove that you did that, that was almost a certain murder conviction. And a certain murder conviction meant life. So I don't know what would have given him the confidence other than the fact that something else was planned to happen. You follow what I'm saying? That favorable condition didn't happen, but the way he acted during the trial clearly indicates to me that he thought something else better was going to happen for him because he had killed Booker Wright. That's the way I look at it.
I have seen too much happen, particularly in my own part of Mississippi, the Yazoo Mississippi Delta, to be a pessimist today. The steps have been too too broad that we have taken for there to be any setting back. But it's not going to change for a long time. But I wish anyone who has seen this program could be alive 50 years from now and come back and see us again. He'll see some profound and largely hopeful changes in our pattern.
Night after night, I lay down and I dream about what I had to go through with. I don't want my children to have to go through with that. I want them to be able to get the job that they be qualified for. That's what I'm struggling for. I don't want this and I don't want that, but I just don't want my children to have to go through what I go through with. Hey, tell that nigga to hurry up with that coffee. I'm on my way. So that's what you have to go through with. But remember, you have to keep that smile.
In one person, in one interview, in one place, you had personified what it was Black Mississippi was saying to white Mississippi after all those years. No, I ain't shuffling anymore, and no, you ain't scaring me out of this anymore.
You talked about your grandfather's life, and people here have shared that. He faced some challenges, but for him, he had to turn those around into an opportunity. Based on his determination, my children, my grandchildren won't have to do this. We are laying the foundation for that next generation.
Your granddaddy put up with that stuff. But if your granddaddy were to come back here, I think he'd be really pissed off with the way things are now. Because there are still some people that have worked those menial jobs because they don't have the education to do any better, to let alone own it. And we made cotton king.
I remember in the black community where most of the homes were rented homes, but they had flower yards. They had pride. And they had swings, and they kept that place neat. Now that generation is gone, and they're turning it over to the next generation. Everything is run down, torn completely up, cars parked up in the yard. So it's a mindset.
There were stores starting at New Zion Church, down Johnson Street. We lost our economic clout when we integrated.
I guess one thing that really touched me, and it's not what the film meant to do, but I saw people that I love, and I loved Booker, and I loved Stanley Sanders, and I loved Hardy Lott, and I loved Charlie Sampson, and his wife taught me 5th grade. There were a lot of good people caught in a system that was flawed, and they were, with the best of will, trying to work their way through it.
It was the most stunning, absolutely pitch perfect, straight on rendition of One humiliation that was his regular existence as a waiter in that place in Greenwood. It was a straight-on statement of, here's how I really feel, and this ain't right.
People change when they see misery and they see things happen that are terrible. They suddenly looking for someone to blame. And they blamed me, and I deserve it. Listen, I think that I should have just not used it. I really do.
I think when you make a film and you use real people, you risk changing their lives. And I think he most certainly did change Booker's life. I mean, this was a defining moment for Booker Wright, so I can't agree with my father that he shouldn't have used it. I think if he hadn't given Booker the stage and allowed him that moment to speak his mind and his heart, he'd have been doing the same thing everyone else had done to Booker for all those years.
It wouldn't have made a difference if I had said, Daddy, don't do that. They're gonna kill you if you do it. Don't do that. He would say to me, baby, this is something I got to do. This is something I'm gonna have to do because somebody has to stand up and tell the truth. So if that contributed to his death, do I hate that he did it? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'd much rather have him here. But then on the other hand, what he did at the time that he did it was spectacular.